afternoon and welcome to the NCC Newsroom at the Newhouse School of Public Communications. I'm Chris Sachi.
And I'm Patrick Gunn. This is the first of 5 live streams of Democracy in Action, an annual Election Day project covering voting around Onondaga County. It's run by the broadcast and digital journalism and newspaper and magazine and online departments.
Throughout today, we'll bring you live coverage from dozens of polling places in central New York. The 2020 presidential election continues to heat up. And of course, it's only noon, so there aren't any official results. But national polls currently have Joe Biden with a comfortable lead. In the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton won New York with the 59% of the vote. The last Republican to win New York was Ronald Reagan all the way back in 1984.
The outcome of the race between 3-time incumbent John Katko and Dana Balter will be an important factor in the battle for the control of Congress. Katko beat Balter by 6% in the 2018 congressional election, but as of October 25th, a Siena College poll showed the two candidates are tied at 45% each. Balter has a significant advantage among voters in the city of Syracuse, but leads by just 5 points in the rest of Onondaga County. And our reporters are live at every polling site in Onondaga County, and they'll be talking to voters waiting to cast their ballot and help show democracy in action. Voters in DeWitt today showed up early this morning to vote, despite the cold temperatures, and they said this election feels more important than ever. Right now, we have Michael Cortez live in DeWitt right now, showing us democracy in action. And Michael, how's it going out there?
I'm outside the DeWitt Jewish Community Center, where voters have been pouring in all day despite the harsh weather conditions. There are multiple locations like this all over Onondaga County where people can come in and get their votes counted for.
I think voting is important because it's important to have your voice be heard, and not only am I speaking for myself, but my children as well in their future.
Voters went to the Solvay Fire Department on Election Day, not only to vote for the future of this country, but to have their voices heard.
It's important for everyone to take the time to vote. It's their right, and people fought for those rights, and we need to make sure that we get out there and have our voices be heard.
James Dolan arrived to the polling station early to vote before work because he believes everyone's vote is important.
I do believe that everyone's vote counts. And we've evolved over the years so that now everyone has the right to vote.
There has been record numbers of mail-in and absentee ballots, but that has not stopped some from
going to the firehouse and voting for the first time.
Grace Meister says voting for the first time is exciting in that everyone's vote counts.
So people feel like their voices don't matter, and that's the exact opposite. Every vote counts, and I'm doing my part to help the future of the United States of America.
Phyllis Meister has been voting for 30 years and says she has been looking forward to vote for a long time.
I like to exercise my right to vote, encourage my children to do the same thing. But this is a very, very important election.
Meister did just that by having her daughter go out and vote with her for the first time.
Everyone's vote counts, and if you haven't voted, go out and vote.
Go vote indeed. People can come to the DeWitt Jewish Community Center or the Solvay Fire Department to cast their votes today for the election. This has been Michael Cortez with Democracy in Action.
There's over 30 polling locations in Onondaga County today. All locations will be open until 9 p.m. and all locations have reporters from NCC News. Onondaga County is expecting a record voter turnout today, finishing off a week of record early voting turnout in central New York and across the state. Even though polls close at 9 p.m., voters who are in line before the deadline hits can still cast their ballot tonight.
And several rideshare companies are giving CNY voters a ride to the polls today. Uber and Lyft are offering discounts on rides to polling sites, and also in Syracuse, Gotcha Mobility is giving people free rides for any of their bikes around the city this time. You can use the code shown above to get on the road and vote. And polls opened at 6 a.m. this morning at Nottingham High School. Voters have waited in a line wrapped around the building throughout the morning. And despite over 100 early voting and absentee voters, many are casting their votes in person and standing in socially distanced lines. The polls at Nottingham will stay open until 9 o'clock tonight.
The Onondaga County Board of Elections is dealing with mishaps at 2 polling locations. The Baldwinsville Public Library and the Lysander Town Building ran out of ballots, and it was a reported printing issue. Meanwhile, in Oswego County, Constantia and Cleveland polling machines were switched, but both issues were reported to be resolved.
Onondaga Board of Elections Commissioner Dustin Zarni says he expects about 3/4 of the results to be available tonight, but Onondaga County may not know the results until next week. Starting November 9th, the Board of Elections will give daily updates on absentee ballots. The results from early in-person voting will be available at 9 p.m. tonight, and results from Election Day will be available starting at 10 p.m. And despite cold temperatures and low lights, voters still showed up early and cast their ballot. Our Sierra writer spoke to voters about why they showed up early.
Windy weather and dark skies did not deter voters from showing up to the polls early this morning, and the main goal was to have their voices heard.
I'm voting to remove a dangerous and dystopic barbarian from the presidency and replace it with somebody who knows what he's doing.
And for some voters, voting this morning was all about being together as a community.
I think voting on Election Day has a different sense of pride to it. Like, I find it to be really satisfying to come on Election Day and vote.
My wife actually voted in early voting, and she wanted me to go with her, but I told her that there was something special about going, with everybody.
A lot of people from the Syracuse area showed up to this polling place early so they could get their vote in before work and, of course, sport one of these.
But for one voter, today was more than just having her voice heard. But for someone else, that is coming soon.
Well, it's especially important for me this year because I am 8 months pregnant with a little girl.
Curtin says her vote this year was so important that she got up early to avoid lines.
Even more, so I'm out here at 6 this morning instead of, waiting or even risking having to wait longer.
The lines were long, but they went by quick, and the general consensus from these early voters is exercising the right to vote is important.
I think it's, again, our right, our freedom, and I love to see people involved and that they care because it does affect us. Our vote counts, and the policy matters.
Thanks, Sierra, and that's all the time we have for the first Democracy in Action live stream today. From all of us at the Newhouse School, I'm Patrick Gunn.
And I'm Chris Safi. Thanks so much for tuning in. Join us again for updates from the polls at 2, 4, 6, and 8 tonight.